Hi and welcome to this tutorial. I'm Camilla from Coral Crochet and I make crochet patterns. Today I'm going to show you how to make a simple but decorative coaster that you can give to a friend or make for your own home if you want. I created this pattern and I really like it. It's like spike stitches or V-stitches that go over two rows. So here I have already started one and I'm going to show you from the beginning how to make it. So I'm going to take some new yarn. So here I'm going to show you for an aran-weight yarn, but you could also use other yarn weights and then possibly extend the pattern. The pattern repeat is 2 stitches, so it's easy, and I'm going to show you how you can increase the amount of repeats. But for this yarn I'm gonna make a chain, 15 chains I'm gonna make now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So this is the amount of stitches that I want, but then I'm gonna add another chain because I'm going to start working in the second chain as usual. And then I'm gonna make single crochet. And if you're a complete beginner to crochet, I do have some beginner tutorials that you can look up. But here I'm assuming that you know the basics. So 1 single crochet in each chain. And try to work them relatively loosely because you're going to work into the center of the stitch on the next row. We're going to make the so-called waistcoat stitch or center single crochet. So there I have my 15 stitches. Check that your chains are not too tight and that it doesn't look like this, that you can stretch it out and it becomes straight. Otherwise go back and remake your chains a bit more loosely. Now we're going to turn around and chain 1. Now we're out on the wrong side. And now we're going to work it's a little bit tricky, but it's only for 1 or 2 rows depending on how long you want the edge to be. So this is like the edge surrounding the main pattern. And now I'm going to work into the center of the stitch, and this is a bit extra tricky because we're on the wrong side now. Usually you only work the waistcoat stitch from the right side and then you work between these legs of the stitch, but it's basically the same on this side. You just becomes a little bit more tricky to see where to put the hook. So we can see that these are sort of the legs of the stitch here of the first stitch, and I also have a tutorial for the waistcoat stitch, which might be helpful if you find this tricky to go through first. But if you're a bit familiar with the waistcoat stitch, maybe you can continue here. I'm going to go here into the middle of the stitch, the center, but I'm also going to go to the right of this thread here. So I usually do it with the hook part of the hook, and I just insert the hook like this, and then I come between these 2 threads where I'm supposed to go in, and the first stitch is a little bit tricky as you see. As always, when you do things on camera, you're also more clumsy, obviously. There, and now I'm going to show you where the hook comes in. It comes in also between the legs of the stitch on the front, and you're going to see why this is important when we continue working. I make the first stitch, and then I'm going to continue in the same way. I'm going to use the hook part of the hook to insert myself between the legs of the stitch, so that, and now I could have made it a little bit looser, and you can also do it like that. You use this finger to push yourself into the stitch like that. And I'm gonna do this all over the row, and then you can see the result at the end. Continue. This is not super comfortable, but it's only for 2 or 3 rows if you decide to do an edge with 3 rows. So I'm working these 15 stitches. And now you're going to see that a sort of pattern forms, it becomes more tidy. And let's look on the other side. We have the same pattern. So this is the advantage, that you have a symmetrical pattern on both sides when you work this way. It is a little bit tricky to work, but it gives a nice result. It's like a two-sided fabric, and the whole coaster will be identical on both sides, so that's sort of nice bonus. Let's see. So I'm going to make in total 2 rows here, and then so the edge is gonna be 2 rows at the start and the ending, and then I'm going to make 2 stitches on the edges that make up the edge. If you want, you can also make 3 rows and 3 stitches on the sides. I'm gonna try to work this last stitch here. Here we go. We have the beginning, and now we're going to work the starting row of the pattern. And remember now to make this waistcoat stitch in the first 2 stitches and the last 2 stitches of every row, no matter what the main pattern is. So always starting and ending with 2 waistcoat stitches or center single crochet. There we have it. And now we're going to make regular single crochet and chain 1 and skip 1. So this can be a bit confusing, but the waistcoat stitch you work in this special way through in the center of the stitch between this V-shaped 2 legs. And the regular single crochet, obviously you just work through these 2 loops here. So we have made the 2 edge stitches. Now we're just going to make a regular single crochet and chain 1 and skip 1 stitch. So single crochet, chain 1 and skip 1 stitch. And we work like that all over the row until we come to the 3rd stitch from the end. So make a regular single crochet, and again remember the 2 last stitches are gonna be waistcoat stitches. I'm not sure which name I prefer. I've just started using the waistcoat stitch, and I guess I'm sticking to that, even though the center single crochet is more descriptive. So just having a sip of coffee. Remember now, start the row with 2 waistcoat stitches. And now we're going to do the same thing again, because we need to set up the pattern round. So we're going to again make single crochet, chain 1 and skip 1. And now we're just working those regular single crochet all over the row. So it's basically the same thing like the last row. And the two last stitches, you know by now, are the waistcoat stitches. So you turn around and chain one. Now we're going to start the pattern. So this is exciting. Make the two first. Stitches, and now we have to check a little bit. You have to identify those single crochet stitches that you made on the first, on one row back. So not, we've made 2 rows with single crochet in chain 1 and skip 1. So on the previous, not this round, but the one previous to that. So here we're going to make the special stitch, so pay attention now. We're going to make a waistcoat stitch that goes into the stitch 2 rows down. So in the same way, we go between the legs of the stitch and to the right of this back thread here. You see on the back there is a thread going vertically, and I'm going to go into the stitch, and either you can use the hook like this and the finger at the back to just hold this thread as a resistance while you pull this leg of the stitch to the side and insert your hook. Or you can go like that, turn the fabric around and just jump into the stitch. It's just see what works better for you. You pull up a loop so that it's on the same height like the chain you have here, and make basically a single crochet or waistcoat stitch, the special waistcoat stitch that we are doing here. We chain 1, skip 1, and we identify the next single crochet that we're going to go into, and we do the same thing all over again. And I've obviously made things a little bit tight here. There, now it was easier to do it this way. Into the stitch, pull up the loop a little bit and pull through. Now we have the first 2 V-stitches here. I'm going to continue working in the same way all over the row. Obviously with this yarn, it depends on the yarn, I've noticed. With this yarn, this method was easier, so I'm going to do it like that. So chain 1, skip 1, into the stitch in this way, chain 1, skip 1, all the way until the last single crochet we made on this previous round before the waistcoat stitch. So I can see that it's here, it's just next to the waistcoat stitch. And here you can see when there are 2 vertical threads going like that, this is the single crochet. So into the stitch like that, and I'm making, immediately after that, I'm making the 2 edge stitches. Just the last stitch can be a little bit tricky. Just try to look at the stitch at the back and see, here are the 2 threads, for example. So see that you go between those 2 bars. So we have made our first pattern, the first round of the main pattern. And now this pattern consists of 2 rounds, so now we're going to make the second round of this pattern. So again, the 2 waistcoat stitches. And now we're going to make a regular single crochet as you would make it through these 2 loops, and chain 1 and skip 1. So now we're just working into the with the last round we made, single crochet, chain 1 and skip 1 through the 2 loops as usual when we work single crochet. So it's like the top of this V-stitch, and the 2 last waistcoat stitches. There we go. And now we're going to repeat these 2 rounds. I can show you one more round with this V-stitch, and then I'm going to move on to show you how to end the pattern with the edge. So after these 2 waistcoat stitches, we go here into, you can use the hook to get in to the stitch, and to the right of this thread here. Here you see a thread, it should be to the right of this thread in order to get into the stitch and have a symmetrical pattern on both sides. So again, chain 1, skip 1, make a V, and you can sort of, if the stitch twists, you can just do like this a little bit, and the stitch will straighten out. I'm not very good at explaining, but I think you know what I mean, if this happens to you at least. You can also prevent this by holding the hook, the yarn a little bit more, not so twisted, but if it happens, don't worry, you can just straighten out the stitch. And maybe this looks a little bit annoying to make, but it's really not difficult once you get into it. And it makes a really fun pattern, as you see. It is symmetrical on both sides, which is fun, especially for a coaster, something that will lie on the table. And finishing the row. You can also adjust your hook size if it becomes way too difficult to get into the stitches. You can just go up 1 hook size, or just try to work with more relaxed tension. Yeah, and I'm going to show you how to finish. I'm going to turn to the other coaster I made, and I'm going to show you how to finish once you want to finish your work. So I will end with the V-stitch round, and I'm going to make those 2. Here I have only 1, so I'm going to make 1 V-stitch. If you have 2, you will make 2 V-stitches. And then I'm going to work into the V-stitch. To work into the V-stitch as a waistcoat. We are working waistcoat stitches, but we also have to work in this chain 1, skip 1 space. So now I have worked 1, 2, again we're working a waistcoat stitch, working into the chain 1 space, waistcoat stitch. Or they are all waistcoat stitches, but you know, you're working in between the legs of the stitch on into the V stitches to the right of this back bar. And sorry if I sound a bit stuffy, I have a cold, or I've had a cold at least, so sorry about that. Let's see, sometimes the thread splits. Ideally you should have a non-splitty yarn, but you know, I always take what I have, so sometimes I also use splitty yarns just to make things a little bit more difficult for myself. This is not very splitty though, but just a little bit. I mean, cotton yarns will usually quite often be splitty if they are not treated in some way. So we have made 1 row of waistcoat stitches, so you can see here the legs of the stitch that we're going to work into, and maybe you know this by now. Gonna work one more row here. So chain 1, go into the stitch to the right of this thread that is really, you know, it's really one of the legs on the back, so that's the funny thing. But we are going to work to the right of this bar in order to make the last round of this coaster. I think this yarn was a little bit easier to work, so you'll just have to experiment with different yarns and see what works for you. I think you can work it in almost any yarn, but obviously very splitty yarns is gonna be a bit extra difficult if you're a beginner. So just think about that. There we go. And we have the 2 rounds of the waistcoat stitch. And yeah, you can see that it turns out really nicely. I do like this pattern, and I hope you will also have a good time making these coasters. Please let me know in the comments if you have made it and if you like the result, and if you have any questions, I'm always here to answer them. Yeah, good luck and happy crocheting. And if you like this tutorial, it would be great if you liked the video or subscribe to my channel. I try to post videos that offer you some value and new skills. Not necessarily that often because I'm a mother of 2 small kids, and yeah, I do have limited time, but as much as I can I try to post new videos. So if you like this one, please subscribe, and yeah, hope to see you again soon. Bye bye.